So a buddy of mine was pretty impressed with his new Skil 12-volt drill, and since I hadn't uploaded a video in a while, I decided to do a quick comparison with my Gen 2 Milwaukee Fuel. This Skil is model number DL529001. It's their new brushless half-inch 12-volt drill. And this is the Gen 2 Milwaukee Fuel. I've owned this drill for about a year. Haven't really used it that much. As you can see, it's pretty much brand new. There's not much wear and tear on that guy, but this is a brand new drill. I tried this out and I was pretty impressed with it. So here's a comparison between it and the Gen 2 Fuel. Ergonomically, I think the Skil is actually better than the Fuel. I wear a size extra large gloves, and you can see my hand fits in there okay. I wouldn't want it any smaller than that, but I prefer this more upright, thinner grip to the Milwaukee design. Milwaukee's got this real fat handle, and even with fairly large hands, I still find it to be a really good, basically a handful trying to use this thing. And it's not thin and easy to hold on to. The reverse switch on the Milwaukee is a little bit funky. It's a little bit soft, and you have to get right on top of it to give it a good deliberate press to get it to work. The Skil, on the other hand, the forward reverse switch, I think they did a better job. It's actually got a very distinct click, and if you can see, it sticks out a little bit when it's fully seated, so I can find it easier when I'm gripping the drill. I find I can really easily flip it back and forth, where the Milwaukee, because it's basically flush when it's in and you don't have much tactile feedback, you've got to almost take your grip off the drill to move it, because you can't really just sort of guarantee you're going to hit it home. It's not bad, but I think the Skil is better. Milwaukee obviously has an all-metal chuck, which is pretty nice, all-metal half-inch chuck, so there's not going to be anybody complaining about that. And it's got this nice ratcheting feature on it, where when you tighten it down, you get a couple clicks out of it. I'm not sure what those clicks are for, but it feels like it locks down pretty good. The Skil has a plastic chuck, but it's a pretty nice chuck. It's pretty stiff, very hard feeling plastic. A pro might wear that down over time and reduce the level of grip on there. However, compared to the Milwaukee, it's a steel chuck with just some very light knurling on it, so there's not a lot of grip there to begin with. So Milwaukee's chuck might be a little more durable if you're really going to beat up on it, but I'd say the Skil gives you better grip anyway. As far as long-term durability, who knows? If you're going to beat it up, probably won't last as long. Not an issue for the homeowner, probably. The light on the Skil is a bottom-mounted light, so it shines up on your work. The Milwaukee has got this over-the-trigger light, which probably casts a bit more of a shadow. That's probably a personal preference thing. I know some people like the light down there, other people don't care. Belt clip on the Skil is huge, and it's very stiff, thick metal with nice soft broken edges on it. That's a big win for this Skil drill. If you're someone who uses a belt clip, that clip is far superior. Milwaukee's clip is this tiny little thing, and although it's better than the Gen 1 Milwaukee Fuel clip, this one here is still basically a two-handed operation to get that to work, or to get that over top of a pocket opening or something. In the hand, I don't know if there's much difference in weight. If anything, the Skil might be a little bit lighter. I'm not sure exactly what the specs are, but trigger feel, the Skil has a little bit of a delay when you first pull the trigger, but once it's powered up, the response is there. Oh, and the Skil's got this little nifty little thing across the back, so you can hold a bit in there if you want to. Oh, and the power indicator is on the back of the battery on the Skil, which is kind of nice. The Milwaukee has the power indicator on the side of the tool here instead of on the battery. So, I mean, the Milwaukee has the advantage. Every time you pull the trigger, you get an update to where your battery is at. Whereas the Skil, the indicator is on the back of the battery. And if you've got the battery off the tool, you can check it without putting it on the tool. So 6 of one, half a dozen the other, I don't know. I think having it on the battery is probably the better way to go. It seems to be the way most people do. And another thing here, the USB port built into this battery is kind of neat. I've got a solution for the Milwaukee. This guy here, this came with a heated jacket kit. So this goes on the Milwaukee battery to give you USB output there, or 12 volt output for the jacket. This Skil battery has that little USB port built right into the electronics of the battery, so that's kind of neat. You can take those with you and use them to charge phones or power USB devices if you want. So overall, you can see the Skil is a little bit bigger tool. However, it's got this nice large battery to set it down on. The Milwaukee is quite a bit more compact, but standing it up on the battery, the Gen 2 tools will stand on the battery, but the battery is still pretty small. If you want to stand it up, I suggest getting the larger format XC style battery pack from Milwaukee. This allows you to stand the tool much more securely. If you're the type of person who wants to set it down. However, that sort of ruins the compact form factor of the Milwaukee, and basically probably 95% of the size advantage it has over the Skil is given up when you put that battery pack on it. But for testing them, I'm going to use the 2 amp hour battery, so it's apples to apples, and each tool starts with the same size fuel tank, if you will. Okay, to test these out, we're going to drive some fasteners. Driving a fastener requires applying torque, no different than putting a drill bit through a piece of material. So I think driving fasteners accurately represents the power that a tool has, or the amount of torque that it has. So to test this out, I'm going to use, first off, these 3.5 inch number 10 deck screws. These are a square drive, number 2 square drive. And let's see how they do. We'll start off with the Skil. This is speed 2, high speed, 1700 RPM. Powered it in there pretty good. Let's try the Milwaukee. Speed number 2, 1700 RPM as well. That's a full battery on the Milwaukee. You see that? I don't know, the Skil felt like it did it a little better. That's full battery on the Skil. Pop these guys out and try it again. All right, round 2 with the Milwaukee. Seems to slow down quite a bit at the end. Try the Skil. Maybe it's about the same. I don't know. Not much difference. Whoops. I'd say they're pretty evenly matched on that test. Okay, for a large fastener test, I've got these 6-inch timber locks. I don't know what that would be equivalent to, maybe a 1/4 inch lag or something thereabouts. Anyway, the threads on the end are only for the first 2 inches or so, But this is a structural screw that replaces hurricane ties if you're attaching roof trusses to the top plate of a framed wall. So this is a pretty serious screw. I can't see, really wanting to put anything bigger than that in with especially a 12-volt drill. These are a hex drive on the top, so you can see I've got this hex drive that's supplied with the fasteners there. First up is the Skil. I'm going to try these in high speed and see if they can drive this fastener in. See how far we can go here. Okay, the Skil battery protection kicked in, and it kicked in right when the threads were just about buried. So if there's 2 inches of threads there, it's basically driven it down to the 2-inch mark. We'll pop this out. No problem getting it out. Switch over to the Milwaukee and see how it does. Once again, starting off on speed 2. We'll see how far it goes. Okay, it went a little bit deeper, but as you can see, the protection kicked in as well. The battery light was flashing there. So let's see here. It went in. It went in quite a bit further than the Skil, maybe a 3/4 of an inch or so further in. So its protection circuit pulls more power from the battery before it kicks off. I don't know if that's a good thing, but I guess if you're in a pinch to get an oversized fastener put in high speed, this will do it. Now let's try the Milwaukee in low speed. It shouldn't have a problem putting this in. Low speed on both drills is rated at 450 RPM. Let's see how the Milwaukee does. Yeah, it's got no problem burying that fastener. Let's try it with the Skil. Okay, so speed 1, also 450 RPM. Wow. It's driving it in there and barely slowing down. Just listen to the pitch of the motor, see if you can hear how it slows down. That's right out through the other side. Let's try that again with the Milwaukee. I'd say in low speed, it almost sounds like the Skil has more torque. Let's see. Okay, once again, listen to the pitch of the motor. That still does it pretty good. I don't know if there's much in it, but based on how they feel when you're using them, I would say these are fairly equal as far as driving power goes and torque. The Skil seems to cut out just a little bit sooner. The battery protection seems to kick in a little quicker, which is probably a good thing for the longevity of the battery, but the Fuel definitely put the screw in a little bit further before its protection circuit kicked in. So I don't know if there's much to read into that. I almost forgot, speaking of battery protection, if you guys have seen my other videos, you've known I've done a couple of teardowns on Ego's tools. Skil is now owned by Shervon, which is the same company that owns Ego. And Ego's battery technology, this is a battery cell from a broken Ego battery that I got on eBay. Skil is using this same phase change sleeve technology in their cells in this new 12 volt line that they've got. I think they've got an 18 volt line too with the same cells. Basically what this sleeve does is it melts and absorbs heat at a certain temperature. So it keeps the batteries from overheating when you're in high demand applications. So that might be worth something in the Skil if you're pushing it hard and heating the battery up. The battery will stay cooler and probably perform better and maybe last longer as well because of this sleeve of material in there. The Milwaukee setup, their battery is so tight in the handle there, they don't really have the luxury of adding any diameter to their cells to keep them cool. But the Skil battery pack, as you can see there, I mean it's a bigger overall battery pack than the Milwaukee. It's not that much bigger, but it's got the internal power indicator as well as the built-in USB source and those wrapped cells that will probably stay cooler as you're using them, so probably last a little longer. I don't know, I'm pretty impressed with this Skil. Based on these tests here, I would say as long as you're operating within the limits of the circuitry, the Skil feels like it's got all the power that the Milwaukee has. I love the Milwaukee overall. I've got tons of their M12 tools, and their Fuel brushless tools especially are really good. But I mean, this Skil is really holding its own as far as power output goes. It's not quite as compact as the Milwaukee, but it does have advantages with that bottom mounted battery, and the grip is way better. I like this this thinner style grip much more. Oh, one last thing well, two last things to point out. The one that I forgot, the the clutch on the Skil. This is not a hammer drill, it's just a regular drill. This is an ordinary mechanical clutch like any other drill that you've seen before. The Milwaukee actually has a nice feature in that it's got an electronic clutch. So it sounds like a regular clutch when you're selecting how much torque you want, but it's an electronic limiter that's in there. So as you approach the limit, it just, I don't know if you can hear that. It applies torque, and then the electronics stop the motor. In the old school drills, the clutch set up like this. Everybody's used to this sound where you it just slips. There's like a spring mechanism in there that slips, and then you can crank it up into the drill mode. So that's one nice thing about the Milwaukee. Other than the fact that this happens to be their hammer drill, they make a non-hammer version of that as well. But I don't know, for general drilling, this looks like the way to go. Putting in a fastener like this is probably not something you're going to do with a drill every day. This is like I say, a 6-inch long structural screw. So that's a pretty big test. And to be honest, if you're driving big fasteners, you're better off with an impact. This is Milwaukee's Gen 2 Fuel, what's the 2553. A tool like this, an impact driver, is really what you need to be using if you're putting in fasteners. If you're drilling, you buy a drill. If you're screwing, you buy an impact driver. And I mean, you can use one for the other or either for both, but this is the right tool for the job if you're putting fasteners in, especially medium to large size fasteners. This is the right tool. Drills are, they went out of style for driving fasteners about 15 years ago. So right tool for the job. Drilling holes, I would say small to medium holes, light duty work, anything similar that you would put the Milwaukee up against. Milwaukee is state of the art. I think it's the benchmark in 12 volt tools right now. And so far as I can tell, this Skil, as far as power goes, is right up there with it. personal preference on the form factor and the, you know, the other things, but I'm pretty sure this is a much cheaper option as well. So I might put the price in the comments if I can find that. Anyway, that's it for now. More to come, hopefully.